I know I've been a little bit hard on the Jehovah Witnesses on the past, coming up with all these prediction dates, but now it's just so easily broken down now, and I'll just explain that actually the Jehovah Witnesses aren't false prophets. If you bear with me with a straight face, you can do that. End of the harvest, there we are, 1878. 1881, a revised end of the harvest. Well, it was kind of around that time. You know, we can be forgiving. Even though it says in the Bible that if a man speaks and it doesn't come to pass, do not fear him, he's not sent by God. But, you know, we live and learn, don't we? 1914, the end of human rulership, of course. Of course. I just wonder who the President of the United States is, if he's human, or maybe they're not human anymore. I can believe that. I can believe anything these days. But there we go, 1914, end of human rulership. It's obvious. And then, of course, 1918, the new terminus, where you know, Jesus actually didn't come in the flesh, but he came back in the spirit and started to rule the nations. It was meant to be 1917, and it didn't happen, so they just made it 1918, of course, which was round about the end of the First World War, coincidentally. And then all the other lovely prophetic dates there. You know, the date I was born, of course, so that's obviously real. You know, I'll be talking about me being born, probably. You know, they kind of got it right. And so here we see the Ancient of Days, of course, now coming in 1918. It's all just so crystal clear to me now. This is the Ancient of Days here. He's from Nigeria, and I believe his son has continued the work. This is his son here, and you can see that they're dressed in lovely scarlet and purple robes, kind of like the Catholic Church, but they're not Catholics, remember. They're a Protestant denomination, and yet they're dressed up like Catholic priests. There with the holy water there. 40 years in Britain there. Yeah, I just happened to meet a few of them last night. Such, you know, they kind of happen not to mention that the new name of God is leader Alumba Obu. You know, they forgot to let me know that, and he's now the Holy Father, of course. You know, Jesus coming back through this man, setting up his kingdom, and it's called the Brotherhood of the Cross and Star. And I did ask who the star was, and of course I think that in the Bible it talks about the morning star and it's Jesus Christ, but it's actually this man. Just like, sadly, the Rastafaris believe that Haile Selassie is also Jesus in the flesh, even though Haile Selassie said, I am not God in the flesh, but they still believe that he is. So basically the women wear white apparel, which I think is nicer than the black apparel that the nuns wear in the Catholic Church. Nonetheless, the higher ups in the church have to wear the, you know, the scarlet robes and the purple and scarlet there, just like in the book of Revelation, you know, in the harlot in Revelation 17. But I'm sure it's nothing to do with this organization. And of course, you know, one of the apostles, probably John, was an artist. Here we see, you know, an early painting of Jesus, and look at the resemblance there. His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, where, you know, I did visit Ethiopia, and all the poor people still congregate around his palace, just hoping for a scrap of bread or a drink of water. Yeah, of course, his lineage now is not in Ethiopia. His entire lineage moved out of there quite a long time ago. The question remains, who actually stays in that palace in Ethiopia? Very interesting question. Anyway, here's the king himself saying that he's in fact not God, he's not Jesus, that he worships the King of Kings, Jesus Christ. So I think this just seems to be a move of you know, the Masons in Africa, or just magicians in Africa that want to deflect glory away from Jesus Christ. And there are Masons in Africa, by the way, but more so there is actually Jesuits there. And they wanted to make this man a god, even though he himself said, "I'm not a god, don't worship me, I worship Jesus Christ." And yet Rastas today see him as Jesus Christ. It's really sad. Oh, but hold on, what do we see in this edition of the Watchtower? It is generally believed that the curse which Noah pronounced upon Canaan was the origin of the black race. Hold on a second. Well, maybe these prophecies aren't true then. After all, I never thought the Jehovah Witness was originally an Aaronic, white or Caucasian only type of racist organisation. I never thought that, and yet some of the early watchtowers described being black as the curse of Canaan. But we live and learn, as the Jehovah Witnesses say. Made a few false predictions, a few false teachings here and there, but you can just change them. You see, when you expand to Africa, you expand to other countries, you can just retract these teachings and pretend they were never there in the first place. Always the sign of a true religion, I would say, a true religion ordained by God himself. Well, coincidentally, this is a prophecy from the Rothschilds back in 1988, who predicted a financial collapse, a complete collapse, and a new world order currency by 2018. So even though I guess none of these organisations have foreseen this, here's the little horn that the Bible talks about, the Antichrist, where the families that the Antichrist come from, and yet strangely none of these organisations mention this. Why? Because Lord Rothschild finances these organisations. Thanks for watching.